My name is Emma, and this is how graphic design can help stop climate crisis. Today I wanted to talk about whether or not recycled paper is bad for the environment. Short answer, absolutely not. It's amazing, but let's go into it in more detail. So worldwide, the consumption of paper has risen 400% in the last 40 years. So this means that 35% of trees that are harvested for use for paper. A lot of the wood harvested in North America goes into lumber and other non-paper products. So in the US, 35% of the annual timber harvest is harvested for paper, and in Canada, 21% of that is directly harvested from trees. The rest comes from sawmill residue, which is 55%, and recycled materials, 24%. A recent European study concluded that 10.6 tons of carbon dioxide is created from the process of making virgin paper, whereas only 2.9 tons of CO2 is created in the process of making recycled paper, so that's per 1 ton each. Another study did a life cycle analysis comparing post-consumer recycled paper to virgin paper, and it concluded that it had 1% of the climate impact that virgin paper does. So here's some stats about recycled paper. For every 1 ton of recycled paper, 17 trees are saved. It only uses 27% of the energy consumption that virgin paper does. It creates only 33% of the same wastewater that virgin paper does. It creates only 28% air particulates compared to virgin paper. There are between 20 and 50% less carbon emissions from recycled paper rather than virgin fibers. So let's talk about energy use with recycled paper. Another life cycle analysis that was conducted found that even after you account for the energy that's used to collect, transport, and process the recycled paper system still uses 73% less energy than the virgin paper system does. This is because the energy that's used to recover the recycled paper and return it to the mill for production is much less than the energy cost of cutting down new trees. So virgin paper requires energy to cut down, collect, and process the virgin fiber. All of this is derived, of course, from fossil fuels. Another amazing environmental fact is that by recycling paper, you are saving it from ending up in landfill. Once paper has ended up in landfill, it releases methane, which is a gas with 21 times the heat trapping power that CO2 does. So it's even worse for our environment than carbon dioxide. So it's a massive contributor to climate change. So by diverting paper from the landfill, you are significantly having a positive impact on the environment without even recycled paper having to be created. The US Environmental Protection Agency actually found that municipal landfills are the single largest source of methane gas emissions to the atmosphere. It has identified that the paper in landfills is actually one of the most significant sources of landfill methane. So this is a very concrete way in which we can decrease our greenhouse gas emissions. So there is a drawback. Recycling mills create sludge, which is basically the runoff from the process that contains ink, adhesives, and other unstable material that was removed from the paper during the recycling process, because basically everything gets ground up into this pulp. So when the usable fiber is separated from this sludge, the sludge goes to landfill, and that is a negative impact. However, a nonprofit conservatory found that the materials in the sludge would end up in landfills regardless when it is created from virgin paper, and that a lot of different mills have actually developed systems to deal effectively with this sludge to have better environmental policies in their own companies. Now let's take a look at what Paul Hawken's drawdown has to say about recycled paper. So based on a couple of assumptions, one being that recycled paper produces 25% fewer emissions than virgin paper, and the second being that the percentage of paper that is recycled rises from 55%, which has the current rate, to 75% by 2050. So under these conditions, drawdown estimates that by 2050, 0.9 gigatons of carbon would be effectively sequestered and reduced from the atmosphere if we switch to up to 75% recycled paper by 2050. It does make a note, though, that this does not include the potential carbon sequestering that the trees themselves would conduct just by being saved from there being a higher demand for recycled paper. So they say that taking that into consideration, there is an opportunity for up to 2.5 gigatons of carbon CO2 to be sequestered by 2050, although that's a more rough estimate. One key fact for this is that there has to be a demand for recycled paper in the market. So this does depend on the growth of the recycled paper market globally, and it relies on a change in consumer preferences and a decrease in cost. So this is something that we actually have a real tangible impact on. If we demand recycled paper and cheaper recycled, more accessible recycled paper, then we can actually have a real impact on creating that change from 55% recycled paper to 75% recycled paper. So if you found this video interesting or helpful, or you have any questions, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Let me know if there's anything else you would like to see me talk about in the future. I have a bunch of videos planned, but I'm always happy to talk about stuff that you guys are interested in. And I'm going to leave links to my blog where there's a bunch of other green graphic design resources, as well as a green graphic design Facebook group, which anyone who's interested in the practice can join. And it's just like a group for all of us to chat about our journey and our processes and any struggles we're having with clients, or if there's something we want help on in getting a different perspective on what's most environmentally friendly. So it's a really fun group, and it's been great, so we'd love to have you. Thank you for watching. So I'll just end on our little closeout. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it.